everybody. I'm Hilton Dresden with The Hollywood Reporter, and this is THR Presents, a conversation with some of the creatives behind The Daily Show. How is everybody today?
Good,
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for having us. Hello.
So you've all been here varying lengths of time, some of you quite a long time, and obviously the show has evolved quite a bit over the years with different hosts, and more recently with COVID going into the home studio and now back into the regular studio. So I'd love to hear just about what kinds of things you've learned over the ever-changing course of this show from each of you, and also how the evolution back into the studio has been since COVID has kind of been more manageable.
We've actually moved 3 times in this last year. So we were at Trevor's apartment. Then we were at a small studio with no audience to be COVID safe for a while. And then we moved back to our original studio with a full audience. So we've done 3 fully different Daily shows just in this year. So it's been a wild ride, especially having been here for so long and having done the same Daily Show for a very long time. It was really interesting year, I would say, forced into, changing by the pandemic, but it really kind of highlighted a lot of things that we can do just differently, more. It really helped us take Trevor's skill sets and really hone things that are specific to him and put them on the show in a different way. Doing impressions, we always knew he was really good at impressions. We kind of never figured out the best way to fit them in the show. And then when we had the home show, it was like, well, there's just an iPhone camera on you. Let's figure this out. I think that plus workflow, just in general, we're all on Slack now. We're all on WhatsApp. We are constantly all in the same script program, and we're just. I would say all of us, especially our correspondents, are a lot more tech savvy than we were in February 2020.
One thing, especially with that, is when we moved from the studio audience to Trevor's home audience, the structure of the show became a lot more editing heavy because we did a lot more cuts and post-production fun. And I mean, thank God for our editing team, our graphics team. The amount of post-production that required is something that they never had to do before in the show, and they just started kicking the show out just flawlessly when they were asked to do that. And we're very lucky that we have the entire every department of the show is able to step up when stuff like this happens, and it was never an issue for us being oh no, we have to do this. Well, we can, because the department was we'll do it. And it made the process a lot more easier than it would have been otherwise. And it was, it was for a death virus. It was definitely not as bad as it could have been.
Jumping off what Zhubin said with our different teams and why we were able to kind of pivot so quickly to the home studio was our show has a giant social presence, and we have a big team. We call it the expansion team. It's our digital social team. And because we are constantly putting out so much content in so many different ways on all the social feeds and online, YouTube, on the app, whatever, we were able to pretty quickly get ourselves up and running from Trevor's home because we already had a department that was so well versed in putting out content all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think when you look at everything that's happened for the show, this year with the Emmys and everything, Hilton, it's all a byproduct of what happened the year before. When you look at Desi getting a nomination for Fox Plains was a byproduct of us being remote. When you look at the editing nominations, of course, the show and the writers, okay, but the technical Emmys that we got nominated for, if you're talking about directing and editing, that's all a byproduct of figuring things out on the fly with straight up minimal. If it was at Best Buy, it was in our house. So imagine if you have a whole team creating a show from Best Buy, and then you put them back in the studio with all of the real bells and whistles, with all of the real computers that really need all of the server space. So, when you look at us getting 7 Emmy nominations, I say this humbly, but these are extremely talented people who were working with little to nothing, and then you put them back in the candy store in Hell's Kitchen. Like, of course we were going to make a solid show. Of course everything was going to be great because we had already went through something that I believe just, in a way creatively galvanized every department of the show to be able to do, a little bit more. And also during that time, we sent Jordan Klepper out to cover all the Trump stuff because I was scared.
Yeah, I think that there were some real pleasant surprises during that period of time, even though it was extremely challenging for everybody and quite frankly, a very scary time in the world. I think because we had so many restraints put on us, we had so many parameters that we had to work within to produce content, we wound up experimenting a lot more than we would have otherwise and stumbling upon ways of doing things that we wouldn't have figured out before. Roy's podcast, Beyond the Scenes, was something that happened during the pandemic because we had to start figuring out how to expand the brand and connect with our audience in ways that we could from home. And now it's a huge success and we get to continue doing that. So that was one of the perks during that time. And I think also when you walk into this job and you see the talent in every single department, it's always been apparent that in order to put out a show, a great show 4 days a week, everyone kind of has to be at the top of their game. But to see the way each department has done it and really gracefully adjusted from each evolution of the show, I've never been more proud to be part of this show, honestly.
I kind of just want to hear about where all of your heads were at the morning of Emmy nominations and obviously the Daily Show has a long history with the Emmys, but what did that day feel like for each of you personally and, for your greater picture team, and just walk me through what that meant to you to get those nominations.
I don't know. I think Flanz and Zhubin should answer that first because they're the ones that are like in meetings as the nominations are getting announced.
Well, we had that week off. It was a dark week, so we were all home.
Yeah, this year,
alone, alone, and the web and the Emmy site kept crashing. We were all texting each other. We're like, I can't get in. Can you get in? Can you? And then like one person would get in, and they're like, I see a nomination for this, and then the second one I heard about was Desi's, and I was like, just so over like the moon about it. It was so exciting. But the first one we heard about was the show, and that's the one that's like, it's exciting for everyone. It's amazing for morale. I don't think you ever get tired. I will never get jaded and not be excited about the show being recognized. It is great, and it's our first writing nomination under Trevor as host. It's a big year for us, so it was. We were all texting each other, and I was texting Des and Trevor, and it never gets old. I will say it's like not even about how long you've been here, how many Emmys or nominations you get. It's every year when you make a show 4 nights a week, you're just like you're so in it that you kind of forget about the outside world in general until like you put a segment up online and it gets a lot of really negative feedback or something. Like you only feel like you only kind of take notice of what people are saying when it's negative. So to get on the morning of Emmy nominations, it's really, really great to like just be able to like share with the staff that you pat yourselves on the back, guys. We made a show everybody likes this year. So that was my experience.
It's like we obviously like our audience is our favorite, and the goal for the show is to make our fans laugh. But the fact that the Emmys is our peers voting for us as among their favorite shows really makes it feel like we are we're reaching a level that is being appreciated, and it always makes it just feel like giddy to see.
I was mid mammogram when I got the text. Jen texted me, and Elise, one of our producers, texted me and went, "Congratulations!" And I was like, "Yay! The show got another nomination!" And they're like, "No, you were nominated." I'm like, "What? Hold on, let me put my clothes back on." God bless my technician. It was a really, of course, obviously a pinch me day, and just, yeah, a total shock. But I wish we had all been together,
I
because
know.
they're texting each other
Yeah.
all these, there are only so many exclamation points you can text. But to actually see each other and hug and be able to celebrate, yeah, it's a big year for us.
Head exploding emoji. Like, how many times can you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest
Party
year.
one.
Like, that was the thing that I was throwing. They're like, yeah, it's 7. And I'm like, okay, well, what are the 7 categories that a television show? Like, I'm learning about new categories and shit. And the idea that this is the most, under Trevor, and the most by any late night show, this year, I don't know. I'm just happy for the staff and crew and everybody who, bust their ass to make the show happen, because there are a lot of people that work very hard in, capacities in the building that are just never going to, like, there's no nomination for a lot of the blood, sweat, and tears that go into the show on a regular basis. So, I don't know. It's not, win or lose the trophy. It's nice to know somebody is, kind of has their eye on you and goes, hey, keep going. And that'll be enough fuel when I'm sent to Atlanta in a suit in 101 heat index to discuss inequality. And that's what I will think about, Hilton, and that's what will keep me warm.
Roy's really excited about the next shoot we're sending him, bugging.
Any outdoor shoot, I'm just like, no.
It's so hot. I know, it's gonna be so hot. I know.
I'm pitching indoor stuff.
Somehow they are all outdoors in the summertime. I don't know how this happens.
Because we're going to Atlanta for midterms.
Yeah.
And Atlanta at the end of October.
Nice.
80-ish.
Yeah, even then, the
global warming. We were trying to suggest Milwaukee, or like, what about Pennsylvania? That's a battleground state and a lot cooler by 30 degrees.
What about Canada? What about Canada's involvement in the midterm? Never talk enough about what Canada thinks of our midterm election.
I can say Milwaukee is quite muggy this time of year. I'm from there, so.
Oh, terrible.
Right.
Dang it, we got to take them off the list.
Yeah.
But I want to hear more about these field segments and the writing process behind them, because obviously you can't account for how interview subjects are going to respond, and there has to be an element of improv. So I know a bunch of you come from improv backgrounds, and I guess my question is just kind of an open-ended, how do you take a concept from for a field segment from the writer's room out into the real world, and what does that script really look like when there's so many unpredictable factors at play?
Desi, you want to go first? Or you want me to go?
Sure. Well, one of the fun things about this show, and it's always been this way, is an idea can come from really anywhere in the building. Anyone can pitch an idea for a piece. So even though a lot of the pitches come from the writers, or they may come from correspondents, you can be a PA and pitch an idea. You can be in studio production and graphics. The best idea wins. So it generally starts from a pitch, and then a segment director is assigned and a correspondent is assigned to a piece, and it's a really collaborative process. We usually starts out with the segment director and the correspondent figuring out exactly what the take is and nailing down the interviews. We have great producers who connect and nail our interviews down, do pre-interviews, get an idea of what they're going to say, and then we start to just kind of shape the piece. We bring in a couple of writers, we have joke meetings, and we'll go out with a couple of pages of elements and jokes and questions, and we've got all kinds of stuff in our tool belt to get out there, and then we just throw it all away. We never know exactly what's going to happen. So my process is to always over prepare, be loaded with as much ammo as possible, and know as much about the subject as I can before going out there, and just set it all aside, because we'll get some great stuff that we planned on, and then we'll also really often the best stuff is stuff that happens in the moment. So you just kind of have to be present, listening, and to know when those moments happen and when to dig in, or when to kind of back off and give enough space for the person we're interviewing to share more. And then the final piece of it is in post. And a lot of times we're shaping the piece in post and we're chasing the news cycles. So something might happen to shift the whole piece after we have it in the can. And now we're sitting in the edit going, okay, now we have to make adjustments for this law just getting passed or this new thing that's just happened. Yeah. So it's constantly shaping as a team.
Yeah, and I think that's the advantage that we have as a show over a lot of the other late night shows is that we have, correspondents from a lot of different diverse backgrounds where we're able to address stories in a way where the people viewing them can see some version of themselves within the piece. So, that level of, representation inherently changes the depth at which we're able to bore into a subject so we don't have to just cover it at the surface. But, the only thing I can compare a field piece to is clothes shopping. When you leave the house, you wanted jeans, and that was your plan. And you went to the store to get jeans. But while you were there getting jeans, you also saw those pants, you saw those shorts, you saw that coat. And now you're back home with a suit and 2 t-shirts and a short set and some jeans. But now you have to put an outfit together to present because you can go out for apples, but you might come back with 9 different things. It's like grocery shopping when you're hungry. You still, at the end of the day, have to assemble a meal for the viewer. And, you don't know what people are going to say, but all we ever try to do is give people a platform and a camera and an opportunity to speak their piece. It's not about creating gotcha moments or dunking on you. It's just explain to me why you feel the way you feel about a thing. And I'm going to pressure test that. And I think from there, generally that's where the comedy is able to come from.
Especially with that clothing analogy. Sometimes you guys go out there expecting like jeans and you end up coming back with like a sequined hat. And it's like, well, that doesn't match the jeans, but the sequined hat is going to be in the outfit.
Trust me, man, this hat is the story.
Yeah.
This is the story now, yeah. It's like, yeah, he's right. The sequined hat has to be part of the outfit. So what are we going to do with the jeans? We're going to get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the best like texts that I get are like when you guys and a segment director are like on your way back from a shoot, and it's like we did it, like we got it, like we got something, and it really is so fun to watch those pieces shape up and come to Zhubin. Like by the time we see them, they're like. We see the pitch on the front end, and then we see the cut on the.
But then there's also days where you have a field piece that is about something that just happened 2 days ago. So we have the advantage of being able to go out immediately. Klepper does that masterfully. Emmy nominatedly. That's not a word, but there's also days. It is now.
It is now.
That's what I love about being a correspondent is that we're able to adapt and shift, and then do a bunch of stuff in studio as well. That may not even be like we have a whole sketch element to the show now. Like that didn't exist before Trevor. So it's like we have all of these different tools and ways. What is the funniest and most concise way to say something poignant about a particular issue? Sometimes it's Phil, sometimes it's a green screen. Sometimes it's Ronnie or Desi being rained on in studio while standing in the kiddie pool.
And our correspondents have to have so many skills to be able to do that job. You guys you're here, so I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but you so multi-talented, our correspondents. It's crazy. They have to be able to do sketch, improv, act, have a point of view, be able to like formulate a thought on like any big news story. We generally, will a lot of times the writer like in the morning will come up with something for you guys, but many times you take it and change it and tweak it to make sure that it fits your personal voice. So really just like we really get a lot of mileage out of the correspondence.
Yeah, exploitation, you could almost use the word. You could almost say that. But you could.
It's the best job in comedy. Ronnie says it all the time. It's truly the best job in comedy. And it's not often that as an actor, you get to walk into something and actually be part of the process every single step of the way. So I look at it like this is my film school. The film school I just won't leave.
He does not want to graduate. No, but I mean, even yesterday, Roy, we had rehearsal for the show you were in. Then we sent you off to a studio with a green screen to shoot something for expansion that's going to go out today. And then we
Right
had
back
you
into
back in for the
studio.
taping. Yeah.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
but then also you go to rewrite to tweak what didn't work in rehearsal.
They're busy.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
it can be a lot, but it's
busy
worth
all around. 4 nights a week. That's what happens.
Yeah,
4
it's
nights
an
a week,
enormous amount.
podcast,
Yeah.
expansion.
It's a huge amount of comedy that we pump out, but the good side about that is that there's so much of it we're always producing that like there's always something else to do the next day. You just keep doing it and keep doing it. You just get a groove and a rhythm, and you're always looking to the next day.
Yeah, I always say it's like the best job for somebody like me who only could cram for tests in high school and college. Like I never studied ahead of time and I forgot everything as soon as the test was over. That is exactly what this job is every day, all the time. Like
if you like
cram,
pressure, yeah.
And then I don't remember what we did. I cannot tell you what we did on the show. And I know we made one. You know you made one.
This has been such a treat, and thank you all so much for coming and doing this. And
thank you guys. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. What a treat for us.
And congrats on the Emmys, and fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.